The icy winds whipped across the barren plains, carrying a fine spray of snow that stung Daniel's face like tiny needles. The frozen wasteland stretched endlessly, jagged rocks piercing the horizon and frost coating every surface. The twin suns hung low, pale and weak, their light reflecting off the snow in dazzling, blinding flashes. Every step Daniel took sank slightly into the icy ground, sending a shiver through his body, despite the thermal layers of his suit. His squad had been ambushed days ago during a supply run. He had escaped, but his teammates, he dared not dwell on their fate. Now, alone and exhausted, Daniel fought to survive in a desert that was just as deadly in its frozen state as the searing heat of other worlds. Then, a faint glow flickered in the distance. At first he thought it was a mirage, a trick of the light across the ice. But as he drew closer, the shimmer resolved into a figure huddled against the snow. It was a young alien woman, abandoned and trembling violently. Her skin was pale, yet luminous, faintly iridescent in shades of soft blue and lavender, catching the weak sunlight. Her long hair, midnight black streaked with silver, spread across the snow, frozen slightly by the wind. Her emerald green eyes, flecked with silver, struggled to remain open, the light flickering as if reflecting her fading strength. Daniel's heart tightened. She was beautiful, otherworldly, but vulnerable, utterly alone in the merciless wasteland. He dropped to his knees beside her, brushing snow from her face. "Hey, can you hear me?" His voice cracked from exhaustion, but it was enough to make her blink weakly. Her fingers twitched, brushing his hand, a silent plea for help. He grabbed his canteen and tipped water to her lips. She drank slowly, shivering violently. Each inhale was labored. It became painfully clear she had not wandered here by accident. Someone had left her to die, exposed to frost, predators, and the icy wind. A gust of wind whipped across the plains, sending snow spiraling around them. Daniel shielded her with his coat, kneeling protectively. His eyes scanned the horizon. Faint shapes moved in the distance, predators or scavengers drawn by the alien glow of her skin. He gritted his teeth, knowing they couldn't remain in one place. He fashioned a makeshift shelter from his survival gear, using a thermal blanket and some ice shards to block the wind. The alien woman's glowing markings pulsed faintly along her arms and shoulders, soft waves of bioluminescence that reflected her latent energy. Daniel realized she wasn't entirely defenseless. Her body itself seemed to respond to danger. But she was exhausted, weak, and vulnerable. He lifted her gently into his arms, noting how light she felt despite her delicate frame. Her hair brushed his cheek as she leaned against him, and for the first time in days, he felt a sense of purpose beyond survival. Every instinct screamed that he had to protect her. As they moved across the frozen plains, every step was a battle. Hidden fissures, sharp ice shards, and unstable snow threatened to trip him. Occasionally, she murmured something in her melodic alien language. He didn't understand, but the tone was unmistakable. Gratitude, trust, and a fragile hope that he would keep her alive. Hours passed. Daniel spotted a rocky outcrop offering partial shelter from the wind and snow. He lowered her carefully against the stone, brushing snow from her shoulders. Her eyes flickered open, glowing faintly, and she rested her head against the cold rock. The faint, bioluminescent glow along her arms suggested hidden energy, a power she had yet to control fully. Daniel scanned the horizon. The wasteland was merciless, the twin suns low, casting long, icy shadows. Yet, for the first time in days, he felt hope. He had saved her from death, and somehow, in the vast emptiness of this frozen desert, a fragile bond had begun to form. He whispered, almost to himself, "You're safe, for now. I've got you." Her fingers twitched, brushing his arm faintly. It was a small, fragile gesture, but it carried weight. The snow swirled around them, cold and unyielding, but Daniel felt determination rise within him. The planet was hostile, predators and unknown dangers lurked everywhere, yet he would protect her. Above them, the twin suns cast their weak, golden light, reflecting on the icy plains and illuminating the shimmer of her skin. Daniel realized that this alien woman was more than a life to save. She represented something extraordinary, a connection he hadn't expected, and a purpose beyond mere survival. The desert would continue to test them, but together they had survived its first trial. And in that moment, Daniel knew their fates were intertwined, beginning a journey that would change both their lives forever. The wind howled through the icy plains, carrying fine particles of snow that stung Daniel's face with every step. His boots sank slightly into the frozen ground, each movement a struggle, but he refused to rest for long. The alien woman rested lightly against his chest in the sling he had fashioned from his survival gear, her faint glow illuminating the frost and snow around them. Her breathing was shallow but steadying. Occasionally, her glowing emerald and silver eyes fluttered open, meeting his gaze. In those moments, Daniel felt a strange connection, as if she could sense his determination, his resolve to keep her alive. He whispered softly, "Just a little farther. You're safe with me." She responded with a faint melodic hum in her alien language, a sound that conveyed trust, even though he could not understand the words. The desert was far from empty. Shadows moved over the distant ridges, sometimes too quick and subtle to be natural. Daniel's instincts screamed danger. He squinted, spotting faint forms among the snowdrifts, predators drawn by the faint glow of the alien woman. "Stay close," he murmured. He adjusted the sling to keep her warmer and shielded from the biting wind. The alien woman's bioluminescent markings along her arms and shoulders pulsed faintly, responding to the threat in the air. It was subtle at first, but Daniel realized it wasn't just light. It was a warning mechanism or energy reaction to danger. Suddenly, a pack of ice-coated predators emerged from the distance. Sleek, quadrupedal, with glimmering spines along their backs and red glowing eyes, they moved with predatory precision. Daniel planted himself between them and the alien woman, using a jagged shard of ice as a makeshift weapon. The creatures hissed and lunged, their claws scraping against the frozen ground. The alien woman stirred. Her glow intensified, faint energy rippling from her hands toward the approaching predators. One staggered back, struck by the invisible force. Daniel's eyes widened in surprise. She wasn't defenseless. Her body responded to danger in ways he didn't fully understand. He jabbed with the ice shard, forcing the closest predator to retreat, while the alien woman unleashed another pulse of energy. Sparks danced across the snow as the creatures recoiled, giving them a chance to move toward a rocky ridge visible in the near distance. Daniel ran, carefully navigating the slippery terrain, holding her close. Each step was dangerous. Sharp ice, hidden fissures, and unstable snow threatened to topple them both. Yet every time she touched his arm, her glowing fingers brushing against him, it felt like reassurance, a promise that she trusted him completely. Finally, they reached the ridge, a jagged outcrop providing partial shelter from the wind. Daniel lowered her carefully, brushing snow from her glowing shoulders. She leaned against the rock, her eyes fluttering closed for a moment, but the faint energy pulses along her arms persisted. He scanned the horizon. The predators had vanished, retreating into the snowy darkness. But Daniel knew this wasn't the last threat they would face. The desert was relentless, filled with hazards both natural and unnatural. His mind raced. Every step forward required vigilance. The alien woman stirred, her glowing eyes opening to meet his. Daniel enticed her subtle pulse of energy, synchronizing with his heartbeat, almost like she could sense his intention and resolve. Her fingers brushed his arm again, tiny but deliberate, signaling trust and connection. "We'll keep moving," Daniel whispered, "step by step, together." Hours passed as they traversed the icy expanse. Daniel kept her close, rationing the remaining water and energy from his survival suit. Occasionally, she murmured in her alien language, soft and melodic, a rhythm that somehow comforted him despite their perilous surroundings. Above them, the twin suns cast pale light across the ice, reflecting on her shimmering skin and illuminating the frost that clung to his coat. For the first time, Daniel felt a strange optimism. Against impossible odds, they had survived the night and the predators. They had moved forward together, facing danger and cold as a unit. The journey was far from over. Ahead lay deeper canyons, hidden fissures, and the unknown forces that had left her abandoned in this frozen wasteland. Yet Daniel realized that together they had a chance, not just to survive, but to uncover the mysteries of her powers, the desert, and the strange energy that pulsed from her very being. He looked down at her once more. Her glowing eyes met his, a spark of trust and hope shining through. In that moment, Daniel understood something profound. Survival alone was no longer the goal. Together, they were stronger, and their bond would be the key to facing whatever lay ahead in this merciless frozen desert. The twin suns hung low in the sky, casting long, icy shadows across the desert. Daniel adjusted the sling, holding the alien woman against his chest, careful not to jostle her fragile form. Her glowing skin, faintly iridescent in shades of blue and lavender, pulsed softly, reflecting the cold light of the frozen landscape. Each step across the snow and ice was treacherous. Hidden crevices and slick patches of ice threatened to topple them both, but he pressed forward, determined to keep her safe. The alien woman's breathing was shallow but steadying. Occasionally, her emerald and silver eyes opened, meeting his gaze. There was trust there, silent and profound, as if she could sense his determination and rely entirely on him. He whispered softly, "Almost there. Stay close." She responded with a faint hum in her melodic language, a sound of gratitude and understanding. Then the rumble began. At first, it was faint, almost imperceptible beneath the wind's howl. But it grew quickly, vibrating through the snow and ice. Daniel froze. From a distant ridge, a massive creature emerged, a predator, unlike anything he had ever seen. Its body was sleek, muscular, covered in bronze-scaled, armor-like skin, and its 4 amber-glowing eyes scanned the terrain. Whip-like tendrils flicked from its back, slicing the air with sharp precision. Its gaping jaws revealed rows of serrated teeth capable of tearing metal. Daniel crouched instinctively, positioning himself between the alien woman and the predator. "Stay behind me," he whispered. She nodded faintly, her glowing hands pulsing with energy. He noticed that bioluminescent markings along her arms and shoulders brightened, as if responding to danger. The creature moved closer, muscles rippling under its armored skin. Daniel grabbed a jagged piece of ice from the ground, using it as a makeshift weapon. He swung at the first swipe, narrow, by avoiding a lethal strike from the creature's tail. The alien woman lifted her hands slightly, and a wave of soft energy surged from her palms. The pulse struck the predator, causing it to stagger backward, sparks of light dancing across its scales. Daniel realized something remarkable. She was not merely a survivor. Her body responded to threats, amplifying her power in proportion to her focus and emotion. He felt a surge of respect and awe. "You're stronger than you look," he muttered under his breath. The predator roared and lunged again. Daniel dodged, rolling across the snow, and jabbed with the ice shard, forcing it back. The alien woman, focusing intently, directed a brighter energy pulse, and the creature recoiled with a painful shriek. It paused, unsure, giving Daniel the chance to grab her hand and guide her toward a ridge that offered some protection. Once behind the rocks, he crouched with her, chest heaving. Her glow dimmed slightly, the faint pulse along her arms slowing as she caught her breath. "You saved us again," Daniel said, awe in his voice. Her eyes met his, shimmering softly in the twilight. Though he could not understand her words, the intent was clear: gratitude, trust, and a growing recognition of their interdependence. The desert seemed quiet again, But Daniel knew the danger was far from over. The predator might return, and other threats, natural or intelligent, could emerge at any moment. Yet the bond between them had strengthened. She had relied on him, and he had relied on her. Together, they were more than mere survival. They were a unit, a fragile partnership, forged in peril. Hours passed as they carefully navigated the icy terrain, moving toward a distant canyon that promised shelter. Every step was a test. Hidden crevices, sharp ice shards, and treacherous slopes demanded full attention. The alien woman leaned against him when she faltered, her glowing hands brushing his arm as if to convey reassurance. Above, the twin suns dipped closer to the horizon, casting the ice in gold and silver light. Daniel allowed himself a small breath of hope. They had survived predators, the freezing cold, and the treacherous terrain. Together they had endured, their connection solidifying with every shared danger. Daniel glanced down at her. Her eyes, glowing faintly, met his with trust and a spark of hope. He realized something profound. Survival was no longer just about endurance, it was about partnership, courage, and reliance on each other. The desert could be merciless, but together they were stronger than the harshest elements or the deadliest predators. And as they pressed toward the canyon, Daniel felt a surge of determination. The alien woman's powers, combined with his human ingenuity, made them a formidable pair. Whatever lay ahead in the frozen wasteland, they would face it side by side, and they would survive. The canyon loomed ahead, jagged cliffs casting deep shadows over the frozen desert floor. Daniel adjusted the sling holding the alien woman against his chest. Her faint glow illuminated the icy terrain around them, painting soft blue and lavender hues across the snow. The wind had slowed, but the cold was relentless, seeping into every layer of clothing and armor. Daniel set her down gently near the canyon's entrance, brushing snow from her shoulders. Her glowing eyes flickered, tracking his movements as he scanned the canyon walls for any signs of danger. He noticed faint markings in the ice and snow, tracks that weren't natural. Some were too precise, too deliberate. Someone, or something, had been here. "Stay close," he whispered, keeping his voice low. The alien woman's hands pulsed faintly, a soft light radiating from her glowing markings along her arms. Daniel realized she could sense the hidden presence, her powers reacting to nearby movement. Suddenly, the wind shifted sharply, carrying a strange metallic scent. Daniel froze. From the shadows of the canyon, silhouettes emerged, humanoid figures, alien in appearance, with metallic armor reflecting the twin suns' light. Their glowing eyes locked onto them. Daniel's grip tightened around a jagged ice shard he had picked up. "Stay behind me," he whispered. She nodded, her glow intensifying faintly, as if preparing to respond. The humanoids stepped closer, cautious but aggressive. Their energy weapons hummed softly, and Daniel realized they were scavengers or desert raiders, drawn to the alien woman's glow and perhaps the strange energy that pulsed from her bioluminescent markings. He whispered again, "We have to move. Quickly." He glanced around, spotting a narrow passage along the canyon wall. It was tight, difficult to navigate, but it offered cover and a possible escape route. The alien woman followed him closely, her glowing hands brushing against his arm in silent trust. As they moved, one of the humanoids fired a blast of energy. Daniel ducked instinctively, shielding the alien woman with his body. She raised her hands and a pulse of glowing energy radiated outward, hitting the attacker and forcing it backward. Sparks danced across the ice, illuminating the canyon walls with bursts of blue and lavender light. Daniel realized she wasn't just a victim. Her energy was reactive, powerful, and precise. But she was still inexperienced. Without his guidance and protection, she could be overwhelmed. The canyon narrowed further, forcing them to squeeze through a jagged fissure. The humanoids pursued, but the alien woman's energy pulses slowed their advance, allowing Daniel to navigate the treacherous ice. Every step was careful. Sharp rocks, hidden crevices, and patches of unstable snow threatened to stop them. Finally, they emerged into a small alcove, a natural shelter carved into the canyon wall. The humanoids paused at the entrance, unsure whether to follow. Daniel crouched beside the alien woman, checking her for injuries. Her glow had dimmed slightly, but the faint pulsing along her arms reassured him. She was safe, for now. "We're not out of danger yet," he said quietly, scanning the canyon for other threats. She tilted her head, a soft glance of understanding, and placed her hand lightly on his arm. The subtle glow of her markings conveyed trust and a silent promise. She would follow him wherever he led. Daniel allowed himself a brief moment to breathe. Together, they had survived predators, extreme cold, and now a hidden faction intent on capturing or harming her. Their bond had grown stronger with each challenge. He realized that survival was no longer just about endurance. It was about cooperation, trust, and using both human ingenuity and her alien abilities to navigate a hostile world. Above, the twin suns reflected faintly on the canyon walls, casting long shadows that shifted with the breeze. Daniel knew the desert held more secrets, more dangers, and that this canyon might only be the first obstacle of many. But for the first time, he allowed himself hope. Together, they could survive anything the frozen wasteland threw at them. The alien woman's glowing fingers brushed against his arm again, faint but deliberate. It was a small gesture, yet powerful. Daniel understood. No matter what dangers lay ahead, predators, raiders, or the unforgiving desert, they would face them together. He tightened his grip on his makeshift weapon, rose slowly, and nodded toward the deeper canyon passage. "We keep moving, step by step, together." Her glowing eyes met his, shimmering with trust and determination. And as they ventured further into the canyon, Daniel felt the first stirrings of a bond that would change not only their fates, but the course of everything around them. The canyon offered temporary relief from the biting wind, but Daniel knew they couldn't linger. The alien woman rested against the rocky wall, her faint glow illuminating the ice around her. Each breath she took was shallow, and her fingers trembled as she clutched his coat. "We have to keep moving," Daniel whispered. He lifted her carefully into the sling again, adjusting the strap for stability. The wind shifted, carrying a strange metallic scent that made his instincts flare. Something was coming, something far more dangerous than the humanoid raiders they had evaded. From the distance, a low rumble echoed across the frozen canyon. The ground vibrated slightly beneath their feet. Daniel's eyes scanned the horizon. There it was, a massive predator, its body muscular and covered in bronze-like scales that reflected the pale light of the twin suns. 4 amber eyes glowed, scanning the terrain. Long whip-like tendrils flicked from its back, slicing the air with deadly precision. Its jaws opened, revealing rows of sharp teeth capable of tearing through metal or flesh alike. Daniel froze. "Stay behind me," he whispered, holding a jagged shard of ice as a weapon. The alien woman's bioluminescent markings pulsed brightly, responding instinctively to the predator's presence. She rose slightly in the sling, focusing energy that radiated faintly from her palms. The creature lunged. Daniel rolled aside, narrowly avoiding the strike of one tendril. He jabbed with the ice shard, but the predator barely flinched. Then the alien woman extended her hands. A wave of energy pulsed outward, striking the beast. Sparks danced across its scales, and it roared, staggering backward. Daniel's eyes widened. She wasn't just reactive. Her powers were potent, but she needed guidance. "Keep it back! Stay with me!" he shouted. They moved together, a coordinated unit. Daniel distracted the predator with quick feints, while she unleashed concentrated pulses of energy. The creature hissed and recoiled again, confused by the combination of human strategy and alien power. The terrain made it worse. Icy ridges, hidden crevices, and snow-covered pitfalls forced them to stay alert with every step. A misstep could mean a fatal fall. Daniel guided her carefully, his arms steady around her waist, while she countered the predator's attacks with bursts of glowing energy. Finally, they reached a narrow crevice in the canyon wall. Daniel ducked inside, dragging her with him. The predator lunged, but slammed against the rock wall, slowed by the tight passage. The alien woman exhaled, her glow dimming slightly as she caught her breath. Daniel crouched beside her, feeling the warmth of her body even through the cold. "We made it, for now," he said. Her glowing fingers brushed his arm, a silent acknowledgement of trust and gratitude. He scanned the canyon. The predator roared in frustration, pacing outside. Daniel realized that while they had survived this encounter, the desert still held countless dangers. Predators, hostile humans, and natural hazards lurked behind every ridge. Their survival depended entirely on cooperation, strategy, and the alien woman's growing understanding of her powers. Hours passed. The wind died down, leaving an eerie quiet in the canyon. Daniel and the alien woman rested briefly, her head leaning lightly against his chest. Her glowing markings pulsed faintly, a rhythm almost synchronized with his heartbeat. Daniel understood something profound. Their bond was becoming more than survival. It was trust, connection, and reliance that went beyond words. Above, the twin suns' pale light reflected off the icy canyon walls, casting long shadows. Daniel allowed himself a sliver of hope. They had survived predators, storms, and intelligent adversaries. They had even confronted a terrifying desert beast. And through it all, their connection had strengthened. He looked at her glowing face, the frost clinging to her hair and shoulders. "We'll get through this," he whispered. "Together." Her fingers brushed his arm again, stronger this time, a signal that she believed him. Daniel smiled faintly, realizing that no matter what the desert threw at them next, they could face it as one. The frozen wasteland was merciless, but together they were stronger than any predator, any storm, and any danger that lay ahead. The canyon walls narrowed as Daniel guided the alien woman carefully through the icy passage. Her glow illuminated their path, soft blues and lavenders, casting eerie reflections on the frost-covered walls. Every step was a delicate balance on slippery ice, jagged rocks, and hidden crevices. Though the predator from before had retreated, Daniel knew danger could still strike at any moment. He set her down gently against a ledge, brushing frost from her shoulders. Her emerald and silver eyes flickered faintly, scanning the shadows. Daniel noticed subtle markings on her arms pulsing with light, a response to nearby presence. She sensed danger before he could even see it. From the shadows, movement stirred. Faint hums echoed off the canyon walls, too rhythmic to be natural. Daniel tensed, scanning the narrow corridor. Then figures emerged. Humanoid aliens clad in reflective metallic armor with glowing amber eyes. They were cautious but clearly aware of the alien woman's presence. Energy weapons hummed faintly at their sides. Daniel gripped a jagged shard of ice, positioning himself between her and the approaching figures. "Stay close. Don't move," he whispered. She nodded, her glowing hands pulsing in response to the threat. The humanoids stepped forward, assessing the situation. Daniel realized immediately that they were no ordinary predators. They were intelligent, strategic, and likely after the alien woman's latent energy or knowledge. One of them raised a device, scanning the air with a faint blue light. The alien woman's glow intensified in response, her markings brightening along her arms and shoulders. Daniel understood. They were attuned to her energy. Her power could either protect them or draw danger closer. He whispered, "We need a diversion. Follow my lead." She placed her hands on the icy ground, focusing intently. A small pulse of energy radiated outward, creating a blinding shimmer that caused the humanoids to hesitate. Daniel seized the moment, grabbing a fistful of loose snow and tossing it toward the opposite side of the corridor. The combined distraction allowed them to slip past, navigating a narrow fissure in the rock. Inside, they discovered a hidden chamber carved into the canyon wall. Crystalline structures lined the walls, pulsing faintly with alien energy. Daniel realized this was the source of the humanoids' interest. A repository of advanced alien technology, still active, emitting energy signatures the desert predators and humanoid scavengers could detect. The alien woman approached the crystals cautiously. As her hands hovered above the glowing surfaces, the patterns along her arms pulsed more rapidly, resonating with the energy in the room. Daniel watched in awe. She was not just a survivor. She was connected to this ancient alien power, and her abandonment in the desert may have been intended to hide her from those who sought it. From outside, faint footsteps approached. The humanoids had regrouped and were now scanning for signs of escape. Daniel positioned himself near the chamber's entrance, ready to defend them. The alien woman's glow pulsed brighter as she directed a wave of energy toward the approaching threat. Sparks flashed across the walls, and the humanoids froze, unsure how to proceed. Daniel grabbed her hand, whispering, "We can do this, together." Her fingers brushed his arm, a gesture full of trust and determination. That moment cemented a silent understanding. Their survival depended entirely on teamwork, coordination, and her emerging abilities. Hours passed as they navigated the chamber, careful not to trigger additional defenses. The humanoids outside were persistent, but the alien woman's energy and Daniel's human ingenuity kept them safe, for now. Above them, the twin suns dipped behind icy cliffs, casting long shadows that stretched into the canyon's depths. Daniel allowed himself a brief breath of hope. Against predators, environmental hazards, and now an intelligent, persistent faction, they had survived together. Their trust and cooperation had carried them this far. He glanced at her glowing face. Her eyes met his, shimmering with gratitude and an unspoken promise. The desert was vast, merciless, and filled with threats, but together they were stronger than any danger it could throw at them. Daniel tightened his grip on his makeshift weapon and prepared to move deeper into the chamber. The alien woman's glow pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, signaling readiness and trust. Whatever lay ahead, predators, scavengers, or hidden mysteries, they would face it together, and their bond had become their greatest strength. The canyon walls narrowed as Daniel guided the alien woman carefully through the icy passage. Her glow illuminated their path, soft blues and lavenders casting eerie reflections on the frost-covered walls. Every step was a delicate balance on slippery ice, jagged rocks, and hidden crevices. Though the predator from before had retreated, Daniel knew danger could still strike at any moment. He set her down gently against a ledge, brushing frost from her shoulders. Her emerald and silver eyes flickered faintly, scanning the shadows. Daniel noticed subtle markings on her arms pulsing with light, a response to nearby presence. She sensed danger before he could even see it. From the shadows, movement stirred. Faint hums echoed off the canyon walls, too rhythmic to be natural. Daniel tensed, scanning the narrow corridor. Then, figures emerged. Humanoid aliens clad in reflective metallic armor with glowing amber eyes. They were cautious, but clearly aware of the alien woman's presence. Energy weapons hummed faintly at their sides. Daniel gripped a jagged shard of ice, positioning himself between her and the approaching figures. "Stay close. Don't move," he whispered. She nodded, her glowing hands pulsing in response to the threat. The humanoids stepped forward, assessing the situation. Daniel realized immediately that they were no ordinary predators. They were intelligent, strategic, and likely after the alien woman's latent energy or knowledge. One of them raised a device, scanning the air with a faint blue light. The alien woman's glow intensified in response, her markings brightening along her arms and shoulders. Daniel understood. They were attuned to her energy. Her power could either protect them or draw danger closer. He whispered, "We need a diversion. Follow my lead." She placed her hands on the icy ground, focusing intently. A small pulse of energy radiated outward, creating a blinding shimmer that caused the humanoids to hesitate. Daniel seized the moment, grabbing a fistful of loose snow and tossing it toward the opposite side of the corridor. The combined distraction allowed them to slip past, navigating a narrow fissure in the rock. Inside, they discovered a hidden chamber carved into the canyon wall. Crystalline structures lined the walls, pulsing faintly with alien energy. Daniel realized this was the source of the humanoids' interest, a repository of advanced alien technology, still active, emitting energy signatures the desert predators and humanoid scavengers could detect. The alien woman approached the crystals cautiously. As her hands hovered above the glowing surfaces, the patterns along her arms pulsed more rapidly, resonating with the energy in the room. Daniel watched in awe. She was not just a survivor, she was connected to this ancient alien power, and her abandonment in the desert may have been intended to hide her from those who sought it. From outside, faint footsteps approached. The humanoids had regrouped and were now scanning for signs of escape. Daniel positioned himself near the chamber's entrance, ready to defend them. The alien woman's glow pulsed brighter as she directed a wave of energy toward the approaching threat. Sparks flashed across the walls, and the humanoids froze, unsure how to proceed. Daniel grabbed her hand, whispering, "We can do this, together." Her fingers brushed his arm, a gesture full of trust and determination. That moment cemented a silent understanding. Their survival depended entirely on teamwork, coordination, and her emerging abilities. Hours passed as they navigated the chamber, careful not to trigger additional defenses. The humanoids outside were persistent, but the alien woman's energy and Daniel's human ingenuity kept them safe, for now. Above them, the twin suns dipped behind icy cliffs, casting long shadows that stretched into the canyon's depths. Daniel allowed himself a brief breath of hope. Against predators, environmental hazards, and now an intelligent, persistent faction, they had survived together. Their trust and cooperation had carried them this far. He glanced at her glowing face. Her eyes met his, shimmering with gratitude and an unspoken promise. The desert was vast, merciless, and filled with threats, but together, they were stronger than any danger it could throw at them. Daniel tightened his grip on his makeshift weapon and prepared to move deeper into the chamber. The alien woman's glow pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, signaling readiness and trust. Whatever lay ahead, predators, scavengers, or hidden mysteries, they would face it together, and their bond had become their greatest strength.